Welcome to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. This is Peggy Meyer. Today's guest is Tami Goulet. I think I pronounced it right.
You did.
Okay, Goulet. Tami Goulet. Tami is a transformation alchemist, passionately guiding individuals and entrepreneurs on their unique paths to personal and professional growth. Through her business, Speak Your Soul Magicks, Tami blends practical strategies with intuitive insights to help clients create sustainable, meaningful transformation without drastic life changes. With over 25 years of corporate experience, she transitioned to a holistic practice that includes energy healing, intuitive coaching, and structured programs designed to empower clients to reconnect with their inner wisdom and achieve their deepest goals. Tami's signature offerings like the C.I.R.C.L.E method and Biz Fairy Godmother Program are carefully crafted to meet clients where they are, supporting them in overcoming obstacles and embracing lasting change. Known for her nurturing, down to earth approach, Tami brings a blend of wisdom, clarity, and warmth to her work, helping people create lives and businesses that feel as good as they look. Whether guiding through her workshops, one on one coaching, or group gatherings, Tami is dedicated to transforming lives one empowered step at a time. And she failed to put in there that she's also an author. So she is one of the authors of the book, The Strength to Shift, in which I am also one of those. And thank you for sharing that. So welcome to the podcast, Tami.
Well, thank you so much. And man, that was a mouthful.
We're like, yeah, well, you wrote it. You gave it to me. So
Yeah, I know. And it's like listening to it and I'm going, hmm. So basically, just to put it down into like really, really quick and easy, understandable terms, because yes, a written bio is very different than one that speaks. So that's a good lesson for me. Is I help women break free from the roles and expectations that society and themselves have put upon them to be able to live a life that feels freeing and authentic and just invigorating for them.
yeah. Well,
So
that sounds really, now I got chills. Like, yeah, I need that. Like, don't we all need that?
we all do. I mean, I did. I went through so many things. One of them you'll read about in here, but I take all of my life's experiences and all the times where I had to basically stop conforming to the mold that someone was trying to put me in,
Mhm.
be it society, be it school, be it work, be it the medical system, be it whatever. And I keep trying. I keep trying to, conform and sort of shrink myself or contort myself to fit into
Mhm.
something. And I'm realizing more and more that that is not what we are here to do.
Mhm.
We are not here to make other people happy. We are here first and foremost to make ourselves happy.
Mhm.
And by doing that, those that matter and those that want to be in our lives are going to love it. And we're
Mhm.
going to end up, because we're happy, we're going to help ripple that out to them to show them how they should be living to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep rippling out into the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But the more we conform and the more we contort ourselves and are not true to who we are, either in life or when we're parenting or when we're basically growing a business
Mhm.
or being a career professional, we just we start to become numb. We start to shut down.
Yeah.
So
We
yeah,
feel kind of closed. Like really, we're not like shining our light.
exactly.
We're just trying to like pull from other people and it's not really us.
No, it's not. And we're from a very young age, we are kind of taught not to be us, right? Because oh, that's not acceptable in society, or you really shouldn't be doing that, or we really don't talk like that, or say things like that, or behave like this. And I'm thinking about all of the younger children and even my own stepchildren and even my own children actually, um, and who I also played that role of no, you can't do that. You're going to bother everybody, or you need to share, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. And there's got to be a way where, and sorry, I honestly feel like I've helped undo it, what I sort of did when my kids were younger. I think I've helped undo it in their lives as they've gotten
Mhm.
older
Mhm.
because I've learned.
Yeah.
what I needed to undo for
Yeah.
myself. But we really do need to figure out ways to allow ourselves and those around us, as long as it's not hurting anybody, as long as it's not, you know, somebody else's rights aren't being influenced because you're
Right.
putting your own forward. Um, just let people be. Let them experience life through their eyes, because we all don't think the same. We all don't act the same. We all don't perceive the same things exactly the same way.
Hmm.
So it can be such an eye-opening, wonderful experience when you allow yourself the opportunity and the possibility to take a look at life through somebody else's eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
How did you get to this point? I mean, like, like this all is that wonderful, but I'm just like, how'd you get there? Like,
Well, like I said, I have always had to contort myself. When I was very young, I could see spirits. So I've lived an intuitive life my whole life,
okay.
but I've never had the guides or the mentors until I became older to be able to figure out exactly what I was doing and what I was seeing. So
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
I was really young, I had a man who was around to protect me. And I would tell my mom, Mom, you can't sit there. The man's there. Right. And as an empath, I could feel her. She wasn't worried because she knew that this man wasn't going to hurt me, but it was kind of like oh, this is really weird. And I don't know if I really like this. And should I say anything?
Yeah.
How can I? And nobody stepped up and went, you know what? You're actually okay. This is actually normal. When you're younger, God, the world is a wonderful place when you're younger. You don't care. You see things the way they are. You see and vibrate at a very different level.
Right. And then we get responsibilities. Yeah,
And then we get responsibilities and we get school, and you need to sit down and be quiet and learn it this way. Right. And then you get older. And as I got older, I started sort of pushing that side away from me because um, I was knowing things and I was seeing things, and people were like looking at me like I had 3 or 4 heads.
okay.
So I conformed myself again. And then another experience was when I was a teenager, I fell down the stairs, had a fracture in my tailbone that killed the bone inside the bone. So I had like an eggshell of bone that was alive, but everything inside was dead. Well, I went through 2 to 3 years of medical investigations and of medical doctors trying to slot me into different diagnoses, trying to help me, but at the same time, not listening to me. Not like, oh, it's in your head. You're a teenager, right? I mean, blonde, blue eyed. Of course, you just want attention. I mean, come on. Um, and thankfully, my parents really stepped up and really pushed. And so finally, a diagnosis was had. And again, I broke the mold because my case was the first to be put in textbooks. So
Mm.
it's now been diagnosed to a whole pile of other people
Oh, wow.
when they could, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I ran into a few other people. It's
Hmm.
like, yeah, my so and so was going through this for a few years, and then suddenly they diagnosed this. And I'm like, oh, well, that was me.
Just, paving the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then I was married to a narcissist as I got older, married to a narcissistic alcoholic, gave me my 2 wonderful children, but that was a whole other sort of learning experience. Finally stood up to him. I wanted to leave him when my oldest was 8 months old. Finally left when my oldest was 8 years old.
Mm.
Takes that long.
Yeah.
It can take that long.
Yeah.
But that helped me also be able to sort of go, okay, so what's going on here? Why are we as humans, especially empathic humans, susceptible to believing the lies and the gaslighting that narcissists tend to love to promote?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience, and it's helped me throughout the rest of my life. And then I got divorced, remarried, ended up with, wonderful house, and that's the story
Hmm.
in here.
Yeah.
Um, Wonderful house, great job, 2 kids, 2 bonus kids, like everything on paper looked wonderful.
Hmm.
I was so numb and dying inside. I was becoming a shell of who I am. for who I was. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I was screaming for help, but I didn't know what kind of help. I didn't know where to look for the help. I
Mhm.
didn't know why I wasn't happy, right? Because I mean, according to
Yeah.
everything that everybody says, I had everything that was supposed to make me happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to give too much away because I do
Yeah.
want people to buy this and
Yes.
read my
Yes.
story.
Just one, Tammy's one of the stories in there. There's
Yeah.
10 stories in there that are so inspiring. So yeah, we don't want to give it all away.
No, no, definitely not. And we definitely want people to read your story too, because there's all the authors
Yes.
and stuff
Yes.
on there. And it's a fabulous, fabulous book. If you're looking for a different way to look at what you're going through in your life or what you've been through in your life, and you want to be able to understand it in a slightly different way or from a different perspective, this is definitely the book for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
But long story short, through all of my experiences and my growth and me stepping back into who I am as an intuitive and a clairvoyant and all the clairs, pretty much, um, and the practical side of myself that I've sort of developed in those 25 plus years of corporate experience, I'm marrying the two together to be able to help people move forward in a life into a life that they want to live.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, I say that I can help you shift your life right where you're at
Mhm.
without having to blow it up because I did it. I kept my wonderful house. I kept my wonderful husband. I kept, my two kids and my two bonus kids and a fabulous network of family and friends around me.
Mhm.
But everything is so much richer now because I'm living it from my definitions of happiness, my definitions of success, my definitions of empowerment. And I've retreat, I've taught or retaught people how I want to be treated.
Mhm.
So,
Not an easy task.
oh my God, no, no, it's not. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of ability to sort of step back and go, okay, wait a second here. I'm so old. I've been with this person for 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. I've basically taught them how to treat
Mhm.
me for
Mhm.
this length of time. And now suddenly I've shifted and I've changed and I want them to change right here, right now, exactly at the same time.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No. It's not a light bulb. We took forever to get to realize how we've been, treating ourselves and allowing others to treat us. And then it's like, oh, we just want a light switch to go off and everybody to like, oh, change with us right today. That doesn't work.
It really doesn't, because one, nobody can read your mind
Oh,
yet.
darn.
And um, and also as you're getting to this, you've done all the inner work, but you have yet to learn how to use your voice in a nice way to be able to help shift people to get them to understand where you're at so that they can sort of let go of some things, right? Like
Yeah.
a good example is I loved catastrophizing. So I would take this little teeny tiny issue and I would blow it all up and I'd create a problem because if I created a problem, then I could solve it. I was succeeding.
Wow, that sounds dramatic now, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, like when I first started shifting and I stopped catastrophizing, my husband would go, "Stop catastrophizing." I'm like, "I'm not. I've actually you need to re-listen to what I'm saying and let's take this back a few steps and let me try and explain it in a different way." Because he would be like, I would start off a conversation and he'd think I was already over here when I was actually still right back here with him, but I was trying to keep him involved
Mhm.
and help him see how much I had shifted and changed. So did I want to kick him to the curb a few times? Absolutely, as I was going through this, but it's a wonderful relationship now.
That's great. There is hope at the other end, right? When we
There's
do change, ourselves to be a better person, sometimes it takes a lot. Like we didn't probably think about how hard it was going to be to retrain everybody along the path. Because
exactly.
that's just hard because I there's so many examples in my own mind that's like, oh yeah. like, how would I retrain somebody? Because it's like, if I'm noticing it myself, how do I stop doing what I did before?
Hmm.
Because that sometimes, it takes a while. Like, you might not recognize it until you're over here. And then maybe the next couple times you're a little bit, catching it a little sooner.
Hmm.
But I'm just thinking that the other person's going, whoa, they're going to go right off the cliff, just like they've done before.
Exactly.
And so they're preparing themselves for this big blow up thing. And when you're trying really, really hard to do it differently, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that sounds hard. But you say that it's possible,
it is possible.
and you've done it, and you've helped people, keep their lives, but now enrich it,
Yeah.
make it better.
Yeah, I've had a client recently and she's like, how come he's not getting this? I've shifted. I'm like, have you told him you've shifted? Well, no. Can he read your mind? No, but he should just know. How? How is he going to know?
Oh man, you're the truth digger. Like,
And she
have you
was
had a
like,
conversation?
yeah, I mean, I'm very nurturing, but I'm also very like, you're kind of going a little bit off here. Let's reel you back in and let's really take a look at this from all angles
Yeah.
and all sides. Because if you really also want something to shift, you kind of need to take a look at it from all the different angles and all the different sides so that you can help better understand why somebody is reacting a certain way, not to shift yourself, but to be able to shift your words a little bit, to be able to help them better understand where you're now coming from.
Yeah. There's a different mind shift in there, and there's some different language that needs to be used. And I think with
Exactly.
the language too, maybe even body language, you
Yes,
know, tone of voice, like word choices. They all go together, don't they?
they really, really do. And, you know, it's so easy to fall when you're so stressed. And I'm sure you found this too, but when you're stressed or you're going through something, it is so easy to fall back in to the tried and true comfortable reactions and actions that you've done in the past. It is so easy.
Well, yeah, because it's reactionary. Like, we don't have to think about it because we exactly know what to do, right?
Yeah.
But if we're trying to change, that takes a lot of brain power. That takes some, stepping back and reflecting, and then some intention. Like,
Hmm.
how do you really want it to go? Is this how you want it to go? Like, if you were to say it this way, what's going to happen? Like, I mean,
Hmm.
this is all going through my head. I was like, oh yeah, I think all of us can probably, take some examples from our lives and go, oh yeah, if I would have done it just a little bit differently, probably would have saved a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why do we just want people to read our minds? I
And
mean,
then
come
they,
on, you have like this, speak your soul magics. I mean, you have magics in there. Like,
yeah,
I want you to work magic.
the magic I work is to help you be able to get to a place where you can decide, as my husband loves to say to me, and I used to hate it, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And I mean, I started, I'm like, do I really want my husband to read my mind? Do I really want to be able to read his all the time?
Oh, good
No.
question. Good question. I'm like, no, nope.
Do you know
Some
how many,
things are better left unsaid.
exactly, do you know how many times in a day I can look at him and go, oh my God, I love you, but you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, why do I want him to know that when all I really want to know is I really love you and I'm choosing to be with you?
Mhm.
And why do I want to know when he thinks I'm being a little bit of a nutcase or a nut bar and would prefer that if I just, went for a drive or something?
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't want to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Be careful what we wish for, right? Like,
Exactly.
we want it when it works out well and when it takes less effort from our part. But the repercussions of that, if you have, it's not just a selective.
No, it's not. It's really not. And the other thing we need to allow ourselves is some ease and grace as we're growing and going through this because The same way when a child is learning how to walk and they stumble and fall, and yet they get back up and try it again, we are going to stumble and fall.
Yeah.
We may have thought we've made so much progress, and then some situation is going to come along and we're going to feel like we're right back at the very beginning again.
Yep.
And the ease and grace of this is twofold. One is you now have the tools to be able to get yourself out of it a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason it comes up is because it's trying to help you heal at a deeper level, at a different level. It's like an onion, right? Like we're
Yep.
trying to get down to the core of the nugget as to what is really going on. Where does this really come from? And you may have healed it in your mind, but you haven't necessarily healed it in your heart or your gut,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yep.
wherever it's stored in your body.
Right. Right. Because it could be anywhere.
Exactly.
The body keeps the score, so it's not necessarily where you think it is.
Could be in your left kneecap, for example,
Yeah.
and you're kind
Yeah.
of going, you get rid of it and your knee stops hurting and you're going, what?
Yeah. I can't explain that one, but it does
No,
work.
it does. It really does. But it's allowing every single person in your life patience and ease and grace as you start to awaken and become more aware of who you are and who you really want to be.
Yeah.
And this one is a kicker, but I always try. Well, there's three things that I say actually that are coming up right now. One is you have survived 100% of your bad days so far, which is one of the quotes in my chapter, which is one of the quotes I love. And the reason I love it is because we always feel like a cloudy day or a bad day is going to take us down and take us out.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, if we look back at our life, we have survived 100% of them,
Yeah.
right? Like, how empowering does that feel?
Well, so much better because oftentimes don't we just look, we think of the worst. Like, this is the absolute worst day of my life. Okay, but we've probably said it 10, 15, 20, 30 times before today.
Yep.
But that quote is great because I've survived 100% of them, which means I can
I'm,
survive this one.
yep. I've done it before. So you know what? I may not want to do it again, but I can do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know how to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of all of this is inside of every trauma is a miracle waiting to be discovered.
I like that one.
So when I went through my whole medical issue, I kept hearing, you're going through this for a reason. You aren't going to know what it is for a while, but you are going through this for a reason. Well, fast forward to when my youngest was 15. So how old is he now? So about 9 years ago.
Good math.
Thanks. Um, and he, competitive soccer player, like A+ student in school, always was helping everybody out, and suddenly started just sleeping all the time, just being exhausted, just like he wasn't him. He couldn't really play soccer. There'd be consequences for that for him physically.
Mhm.
And I'm like, school, he's like, Mom, and he was a math expert. Mom, I blanked on my math test. Caleb,
Yeah.
Caleb, you blanked on your math test? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, that is not you. What happened? He's like, my mind just stopped. It's like I couldn't figure anything out. Okay, this is not right. Like there's something going on.
Mhm.
Started the whole medical process, right? My turn now. Um, Luckily for him, it only lasted about 4 to 5 months of uncertainty and unknowing
Mhm.
because I was starting to see similarities to an autoimmune disorder that my mother has.
Oh,
And I said, my mom has this. This is what I believe he has. Can you test for it? And this was like our fourth or I don't know, our 10th time probably at
yeah.
the emergency. And we had seen so many different doctors and had so many different tests, and they were all like, oh, it's in his head. I'm like, no, it's not. Like,
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah.
I said, can you please test for this? She's like, well, I'll test for it, but I'm going to send you home because I know it's going to be negative. What do you think happened the next day?
Positive.
I got a call, not from her because she wouldn't dare,
Oh, yeah.
but from one of the nurses. And they were like, yeah, we kind of need you to come back in because he tested positive for this. Mm-hmm. I know.
Mhm.
Yep. So, and it basically it's an allergy to the cold. And I live up in Canada, so of course. Anyway, we managed to get him through high school. He's now in university. He's doing well. He's got it under control and managing it.
Yeah.
But that, like that was the miracle inside the trauma that I experienced as a
Wow.
teenager because I was able to help him much quicker. Plus, because I was a teenager when I went through it, I could identify with what he was going through as a teenager
Mhm.
going through it because nobody understands, right? As a teenager, you're like, what do you mean you're sick? Give me a break, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was, and I was able to work with the teachers better because I
Yeah.
understood and all
Mhm.
this stuff.
Mhm.
So when you look back at your life, and I challenge this for you and I challenge this to our listeners, think back to some of the traumas and think back to some of the lessons learned and see what miracles actually showed up for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because one, what's coming up is it's like we often don't look back. I mean, I think we can rewrite our stories.
Oh, yes.
Oftentimes we look back and we're like, We thought of it this way." But if we look at it through like, what did we learn from this? What can
Hmm.
we take away from it? Is there something awesome that came out of it?
Hmm.
Like it sheds a different light, and we
It
can
really
heal
does.
some of that.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you think about some of the traumas, what lessons did you learn? Okay, well, say um, narcissistic, right? My narcissism, or not my narcissism, sorry, my narcissistic ex.
Hmm.
He taught me how to better stand in my power.
Hmm.
I lost that again as I was becoming numb, but now I have fully found it and I'm fully embracing it and I'm like fully standing in it and I'm
Hmm.
helping others do the same. Well,
Yeah.
without that narcissistic experience that I had, I wouldn't necessarily be able to relate to different people the way I do.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
A
right?
blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah.
And we can look back at some of those things because we can. Yeah, I encourage people to look back because it's like we can rewrite the story. Like
Mhm.
we might have thought it was a bad thing, and grudges that we keep or the negative energy that we keep around some things because we have framed it that way.
Mhm.
We can look at it like you help people look at it in a different perspective.
Yep. Yep.
And there is something that we needed from that experience to help us later.
Exactly. And, you know, we can look back at our childhoods, and this is a perfect example that myself, I've experienced, my couple of my client, well, many of my clients have experienced, right? We sort of take a look and we're like, we had a really shitty childhood, and you paint yourself the victim.
Hmm.
And rightfully so. I
Yeah.
mean, you had a shitty childhood, and I wanna caveat this with you as a parent could be doing the best that you possibly could, and your kid could still think that they've had a shitty childhood.
Yep. Yep.
Both can be true. I
Yep.
just want to make sure that everybody realizes that.
Yep, it's everybody's perspective, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But if you are saying, oh, I had a really shitty childhood and oh, woe was me, and I'm like this because of that, you are bringing the experiences that you had no control over as a victim up into your adult self.
Mhm.
Whereas we can now take a look at that and go, you know what? I really did I missed out on this, this, and this as a
Mhm.
child.
Mhm.
How can I, as an adult, give my inner child this, that, and the other thing so
Mhm.
that I can help heal her or him so that I can then stop bringing this victim mentality forward into my adult life when somebody else may say something or may act a
Mhm.
certain way or may speak to me a certain way that triggers
Mhm.
the inner child victim
Yeah,
that then comes out as an adult.
right.
And it's that visceral instant kind of reaction that you sometimes
Mhm.
wish, oh my God, did I really need to say that way
Mhm.
or react?
Yeah.
So like you keep saying, and I totally agree with you, we can rewrite our
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
We can go back and shift and heal and change
Mhm.
our childhood.
Right. Right. It's a mindset thing, but it's getting in tune with ourselves, looking at what experience was it?
Mhm.
And taking it up, kind of breaking it down into scenes or taking it apart a little bit and like, oh, and how is, and how am I like doing the same thing now? Like,
Yep.
okay, did 30 years not or 40 years not like do
Yep.
anything? Like, what did, how could these other experiences over my life be better if I would just kind of let that
Mhm.
heal it, learn the lesson, and then figure out, retrain myself on how to respond better.
Yep.
And you can help
Absolutely.
people do that.
Yeah. I help people do that. And when you do that, it's bringing up, yeah, you got to talk about this. I'm like, okay. It's bringing up that you get to see your parents from a different perspective
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
So you can actually heal that relationship between the child and the mother or the parent
Mhm.
and bring it up to either, two parents.
Mhm.
There's still going to be your mom or your dad,
Right.
but you're able to actually go, you know what? Based upon when they grew up, how they grew up, the time that they were bringing you up,
Mhm.
like what was the environment, what was society like,
Mhm.
you're actually able to see them from a different perspective and you're actually able to forgive them for a lot. You may not like what they did,
Right.
but you can begin to kind of understand it and go, yeah, okay, I still took it this way, but I can see where they were coming from.
Mhm.
And that just allows you to even heal that relationship moving forward as well.
Yeah. And I could imagine that even if maybe a parent or something was no longer living, you could still heal that relationship so you can move forward.
Yes, because spirits are all around us. And sorry, I'm getting full body chills right now. Spirits are all around us and they may be there trying to help you heal that relationship, trying to help you heal. And that may be something that they're regretting or holding on to even in their next journey that they're on.
Mhm.
And they're, by healing that, as I always say, when you heal yourself and you heal the relationship you have with your ancestors, forward or backwards,
Yep.
you actually start to heal the ancestral line for yourself and for your family, both past, present, and future.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's
Impactful.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's just like, it's hard to imagine because we're all in this like now, kind of, but as I'm not learning more, it's like, yeah, I mean, you kind of look back and you're like, wow, what was that? But then if you make that change and if you heal a little bit, just the impact going forward, how much
Mhm.
better generations will be moving forward.
Absolutely.
And we can look back too. I mean, we could probably find those stories
Oh,
in
yeah.
our past of
Oh, yeah.
an impactful, relative or something that did, and then that changed the course of that family.
Exactly. And with the wonderment of ancestry.com
Yeah.
and everything, right? You hear those stories and you're
Mhm.
like, gee, I want to be that. Well, how many years ago was that? And how
Mhm.
do you know that so many years moving forward that somebody's not going to say that about you,
Right, right, right.
right? Like, what change and shift do you want to be in your life and how do you want that to ripple out into everybody else's life who lives around you? Is it that you want to be happier? Is it that you want to be more positive? Is it that you are the quote unquote black sheep of the family because you are refusing to repeat generational traumas that have been coming forward, passed on from parent to child to parent to child to parent to
Right,
child?
right.
And you get to choose
Yeah,
because you are the one in control of your own life.
yeah.
We
And
may
that's the
not
power we have, the power of
exactly.
choice.
We may not feel like it all the time.
No, we don't. But when we get this knowledge and when we get this, we can't like necessarily, I feel like we can't unlearn it. Like we
No.
can't unlearn the impact it could cause.
Yes.
It's kind of like that light bulb moment, and it's like, wow, something, and it's like you can't un, like unlearn it or forget it. You're like, it's there.
Yes. You can choose to ignore it,
Right.
but you will never be able to fully close the door once you know.
Yeah.
You just won't.
Yeah. It's that in there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This has been awesome. Like, we could go on.
We
I mean,
could.
we could go on. This has been, but just it's just so interesting. Like I hope all the listeners can relate because I can totally relate. Just look back on one or two things from your past on how, like, oh, there's got to be something where you're like, oh, if I would have done this a little differently.
Yeah.
Well, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Yep.
choose that.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
it'll create this new ripple effect.
Exactly. You can forgive yourself for something that you are feeling. And I don't know why this is coming up. Somebody's like, yeah, but I can never, that was too
Mhm.
bad. I can't
Yeah.
forgive myself. It's like, no, you can.
Mhm.
You can look back on it and go, yes, I knew that what I was doing was wrong. I was doing it because I felt X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
You're now like 10, 15 years later, you can see so many things differently,
Mhm.
but you couldn't back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're judging yourself back then on what you know today.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
oh,
unfair. Like,
like you had no idea. I mean, you may have known, no, I really shouldn't be doing this. And there's some things that you're going, oh my God, I had no idea.
right.
But the biggest, if I can give anybody something to take away today, it is figure out how to forgive yourself for doing that.
Mhm.
This is coming through so strong. I don't know who needs to hear this.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself because you didn't know any better at the time.
Yeah. You were doing the best you could with the information you had, with your skills at the time, but we're all on the path of growth and learning. So there's going to be something that we learned that we're like, oh, if I would have known that
Mhm.
back then,
Yep.
this is one of those moments.
Yep.
Like, forgive yourself because
Forgive
you did
yourself.
not know. And that's also like forgiving those around us. They were doing the best they could.
Exactly. Exactly. And I guess the final thing I want to say, and people are going to go, ah, but this is something I live by. If you want others to accept you for who you are and where you are in life and on your path, you must first accept them for where they are and the life that they are living and choosing to live.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's a
Yes. I know. It's like, oh, but I can see so much better for them. That's great. They may not want it.
yeah. They don't see it yet. They have to live through some of these things and they have to learn on their own path. You mean we can't just do that for our kids? Like, hey, we can see where this is going. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can see where this could end up.
Yeah.
And we think you could do.
Yeah. And you kind of need to go, nope, this is something they need to do. I mean, step in if there's like absolute harm
Right,
happening.
right.
But, there are just, you can be told a million and one times not, or something's going to go a certain way if you do this and you don't believe it until you actually do it and go, yeah, they're right.
Yep. And you
It's
might
the
not
same
hear
thing.
those words.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not going to say I told you so
Nope.
because no,
Nope. Nope. That wouldn't be good.
no.
No. You can
Yeah,
just
no.
be thankful that they've opened their eyes and they learned
Exactly.
something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that one's a tough one to swallow.
It is.
Where let's change it. Like, where can listeners find out more about you and how to get a hold of your wonderful things that you can provide, your programs? I love that, Biz Fairy Godmother Program, the Circle Method. How do they find out more about you?
So they can visit my website, and Speak Your Soul Magicks is spelt, the magics is spelt weird, but it's Speak Your Soul, and then magics is Magicks. I spell it sort of a mixture of the old way
Mhm.
because I believe that magics is thread throughout every single aspect of our life,
Yeah,
whether we're aware of it or not.
yeah, wonderful. I'll put that in the show notes so that
Thank
people
you.
can easily find that.
Thank you.
So, is there anything that you would like to leave the listeners with that maybe, reemphasize or, something you haven't touched on yet that you would like to leave the listeners with?
Patience, grace, and ease. You are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. You may wish you were somewhere else, but you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And you are I want you to gift yourself grace and ease and patience as you continue to awaken, as you continue to walk this journey, as you continue to grow, because you need it.
We
You
don't
really do.
we don't give ourselves enough grace, ease, and patience. So remind ourselves that's what we need to do,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it'll help us along our journey.
It will. And have faith. Trust that the universe has your back.
Mhm.
Because if you look back, it always has.
You've survived 100% of your bad days.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tami. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Peggy. It's been a lot of fun.